Bellator had a card in Ireland, and Conor McGregor made his presence felt. Can somebody break this down for me? Because I don't think I have all the information on this. So what exactly happened?
Yeah, this seems like a tone thing.
I dissected this thing. So basically, well, obviously Charlie Ward trains at SPG with Conor. It was a stoppage. I mean, upon watching the replay, which was tape delayed for like 12 hours, fix that Bellator. Watching that, it's at the very end of the round, and Charlie Ward's like beating on Redmond, but the ref Goddard does not call the fight. Like, the fight is not over, the round ends, but Redmond's like fucking out of it. Like, he's like still on the canvas. Like, he hasn't even gotten up yet, and it's fucking hysteria because Conor like jumps the fucking fence, and this is before the fight's even been called, right? So we're in a situation where they're still trying to figure shit out. You got Conor jumping the fence, like doing like this like frat bro thing with Charlie Ward where they're like bumping chests and like high-fiving or whatever the fuck. And obviously he's not supposed to be in there. They try to get him out. And then Conor like freaks out that he's being told to leave and rushes at Goddard, shoves him into the concussed Redmond. Like once or twice it happens because there's like a bunch of people now trying to get him out. And then at some point he jumps on the fence again and slaps an official in the face.
That was after he jumped into the cage?
That's a good question.
No, you're right.
I think I'm right on that. I think he's trying to like hype up the crowd or do something. I'm not really sure. The guy was on drugs. Like, either that or he was very drunk. But he was just acting like incredibly erratic, like just all over the fucking place. And like they said today, basically the ABC who was there and was the commission for this event, it does not want to put out any punishment. So they kind of, pushed it off on the UFC. And they were like, well, it's not, he wasn't a Bellator cornerman or he wasn't involved in the fights at all. So it's the UFC's responsibility, Basically, they don't want to give him punishment. And they're going to put the onus on the UFC to do something to him. Which, I mean, the fact that he shoved a ref and slapped a commissioner, I mean, he should get something, at least a gigantic fine. I don't know what they're going to do, but it was good for Bellator because they got on like ESPN and all this other shit. And it was honestly, it was one of those cards. It was one of those cards that had like 4 fights on it because the undercard was all Bama, the Bama promotion. And they lost James Gallagher, so he wasn't even on there. So they had Adrian McKee fighting somebody else. And it's like you can't really sell that, but McGregor doing his thing kind of just blew the event up.
See those promos they were running too? The day in between the time that it actually happened and the time that it aired in the US, they made those Conor McGregor commercials for Spike TV to run.
No, I didn't see those.
Yeah, it was like tonight, see the moment everybody's been talking about in the MMA world, and it showed like McGregor jumping in. They got there full. I swear to God.
Oh my God.
They took advantage of that 6 hours they had, but yeah, man, definitely. Hey, I'm sure Bellator's not mad about it. What do they have to worry about?
Probably boosted those ratings.
Not going to do much to him. Like, give him a little slap on the wrist or something, or I don't know. I don't know what they can do even.
Okay, but like if it was any, and I've seen some very dumb things because obviously I'm very vocal on Twitter, and like people know me as like the McGregor hater or whatever.
Really, you? No.
So like I catch a ton of flack, and I get that, I totally understand that, but some of the stuff is so nonsensical, like I can't even figure it out. Like, if he was anybody else, it wouldn't be such a big issue. That's the one I don't get, because if it was anybody else, they would be immediately banned from the UFC, like cut, which has happened before. Not and people have brought up, oh well, Roy Nelson, kicked the ref or whatever. Yeah, but he was also a fighter that was supposed to be in the cage and everything. But that is a good point. Jason High obviously got cut immediately. So there's been some. Oh, and then not really the same thing, but Paul Daly sneaking around the ref to punch Koscheck after the bell. It's like little things like that just kind of like, if you're looking for comparisons or precedents, there were very, very harsh punishments in all those cases. And I don't think McGregor's going to get anything close to that. At the most, I think maybe like a few months suspension and a fine. Like, this can be it.
I don't think those even compare to what McGregor did. The reason why is all of those incidents, they all happened at a UFC card. And this happened at a Bellator card, right? So I don't even believe that the UFC would even punish him. Why? It doesn't have nothing to do with the UFC. He's not even at the UFC. Remember when Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz, they got in a fight with Khabib and his crew at a WSOF event? They never got punished for that.
That's a little different. Because you're talking about two fighters fighting, which, I mean, if you want to bring that up, Nick Diaz also fought a dude in the hospital. Okay, yeah, totally. But we're talking about We're talking about Mark Goddard, who refs in the UFC, and you're talking about commissioners being slapped in the face. So it's a little bit different than just like a brawl or something between drunk parties or whatever. I mean, this guy scaled into somebody else's cage, and even though the ABC doesn't want to get involved, I'm sure that they're at least advising, what the punishment should be. And it doesn't matter that it's not in the UFC. Like, it's still, part of, it's the same sport basically, and you got the same kind of players involved. With Mark Goddard, reffing a UFC event. What was that? A month ago.
Mm-hmm.
And Conor was not a cornerman, and he was circling the cage and shouting shit or whatever he was doing, and was told by Mark Goddard to go sit down because he's not a cornerman. So I mean, they have to do something to because what if let's say again Mark Goddard's reffing a fight, and McGregor's there and fucking berating him or trying to start shit with him, or he's actually cornering somebody and getting into it with a referee. Like, you have to set some kind of, you can't do this shit basically. Like, you need to be somewhat professional.
The UFC, I don't believe that they're responsible for it. I don't think that they're responsible to punish him. It should be the athletic commissions that should punish.
But the athletic commission is putting it on them.
Then they're a bunch of pussies for doing that, because they should be the ones having the control and the power, right? The third party. You're right. You're completely right about, somehow controlling Conor and his behavior, because that's terrible behavior. That's like, if he doesn't get punished by somebody for this, then it just shows you that the UFC is Conor's bitch.
Well, I mean, we kind of already know that, but that just solidifies it.
Yeah, it just solidifies it. He slapped an official. Like, it's online. You can see it. He pushed Mark Goddard, which is a very respected referee in the MMA community, right? And it's unbelievable. That's why I think he's on drugs. You have to be on drugs to do shit like that. You can't just go out there and be sober and run around acting crazy.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
It is, man.
I like Goddard's response, because like, it was funny because he had been talking shit about a writer that we won't talk about, but he had been like going at him like hardcore and like calling him out and like cussing at him and stuff. And then after the whole McGregor thing, he's like super professional and like just saying like I've been around the sport a long time and like basically taking the high road, you know. But then when it comes to like a certain writer, he was just like, "Go fuck yourself." So,
Do you think USADA's gonna be knocking on McGregor's door pretty soon after this erratic behavior?
you know, yeah, but I mean, like he pops for something like a party drug or something. It's not gonna be, you know. We saw that thing with John Jones where he went to rehab for a day. Like
That was an accident too. That wasn't even supposed to be released in that. You know, they weren't supposed to be testing him for cocaine when they did.
yeah, I don't think they released that honestly. The out of competition, recreational stuff, right?
No, you're right, 100%.
So that wouldn't make it to the public unless someone wanted it to make it to the public.
Yeah,
Which the UFC does not want that to make it to the public.
yeah. I'm sure Dana's already aware.
Ah man, it's a shit show, man, and the only entity that benefits from this is Bellator.
It's so true.
That's the only
Yeah.
thing that's the only entity that benefits. Spike TV, Bellator, Viacom, Scott Coker.
Apparently Bellator is rebranding soon. Well, we already knew the TV station was rebranding. Spike is turning into whatever the hell it's gonna be called. Some
Mohawk.
ridiculous. I don't know. Do you know what it's called, Nolan?
I think it's like Universal, like
Something.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, something.
I don't
awful.
remember.
Oh, Bellator, are they changing their name?
No, Bellator's not changing their name. They're rebranding though, and then the station is changing its name, so it won't be Spike anymore.
Well, you know, I don't think that makes a big difference, does it?
It's going to be called the Paramount Network. Is what's quite
That's even worse.
Bellator on the Paramount Network. It sounds like the CW or something. I don't know, like the TV stations in the States, but it sounds just like a corny station with.
You just said the CW. That's a US station.
Oh, is it?
As long as Cops plays after Bellator, I will be content with whatever they want to call it. But
The longest is Cops the longest running show ever?
It's got to be up there with The Simpsons or something.
It doesn't even compare to the new PD Live. Like PD Live just pops out of the water.
Man,
if you've never seen, maybe they don't have that in South Korea, but you got to see PD Live.
I'm pretty sure I could watch it on Hulu or something, right?
Well, it's live, bro. You got to watch it.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's maybe
it's not really live. It's kind of like no.
Well, you know, you can't compare to US TV, man. US TV is the best TV in the world. You can't compare. So much.
Are we allowed to talk about the fights that actually happened at Bellator?
What happened?
Well, I mean, like nothing like crazy exciting, but I mean, AJ McKee finally got like tested a little bit versus Brian Moore.
The guy was game.
Yeah, he got Brian Moore bloodied him up pretty bad, cut him open, and then the third round happened and AJ just came out and just looked like a different fighter at that point.
I thought it was interesting after the fight, Tone. I don't know if you saw it, that it was an interview with Antonio McKee, I think, and he was saying that that AJ needed to be more focused in camp, that he had a really bad camp and they had known that he'd had a bad camp and they thought he was just kind of being too laid back and things like that. So I thought that was a very interesting take. Usually you wouldn't, you know, if that were to be true, you wouldn't hear something like that especially from the guy's dad. So
yeah, his dad's because I've talked to both of them, but like his dad's kind of known as like a hard ass.
Yeah.
But like I'm sure that was done to motivate him. And I know AJ is like a extremely hard worker and he's also very young. So at some point, I mean, you just got to let off steam, man. And I'm sure he just needed to reset. And I'm sure this was a big wake-up call for him, you know, getting hurt that badly against a guy. I mean, not to shit on Brian Moore because obviously he was super game and has a pretty good record, you know, and is a good fighter in his own right. But, like, AJ was a sizable favorite coming into this, and to have that close call, I think will wake him up a little bit.
For sure. I always say that about the prospects coming up, you know, when I'm doing my tape watching them or the Contender Series, like there's something to be said about a guy that's been tested, that's kind of been able to overcome things and been able to go back to the drawing board and make adjustments. Some prospects who have all the talent on paper in the world can't overcome those things when they're hit with them. So that's I completely agree with you there.
We're like getting into some real like football guy shit here, like
Really?
we only like fighters that have been tested and no, but I totally get what you're saying, because like I mean, up until this point we hadn't seen him tested. We haven't seen Gallagher tested at all, so that'll be interesting if they ever do fight, because honestly Gallagher just steamrolled everybody's fought at this point.
I was so pissed that fight got canceled. Not necessarily that I cared too much about the matchup, but just it seemed like the McKee Gallagher thing was, that was going to be the next step after this card.
Yeah, because they would have both been on the card. And
that wasn't an accident. They put AJ there.
Right.
So hey, maybe sometime in the future, maybe next. Who knows?
I think it will be next.
I hope so.
Let's get John back in the conversation since he doesn't watch Bellator at all.
Well, big news came out that they're having a heavyweight tournament. So let's list the fighters that are on this tournament. You got
Throwback Thursday.
Mitrione, you got Rampage Jackson, King Mo, Chael Sonnen, Ryan Bader, Roy Nelson. And they're saying that the first matchup they're going to release is Frank Mir versus Fedor.
You forgot Rory.
Rory?
Yeah, he's going to be alternate.
No way.
He wants to.
Yeah.
He's on Twitter talking about he can get up to 205 pounds or 206 pounds or whatever.
Man, he's just talking out his ass. Come on.
No, I was thinking he's serious, dog.
He's got bodies buried in his backyard that weigh at least 250.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. That guy creeps me out.
Yeah,
sure.
He's a weirdo.
He's a character.
So what do you think would be some of the matchups that would be exciting to see in the first round? What do you expect? Like, especially for Rampage.
I don't like that they're matching up Mir and Fedor already. I feel like those are two of your bigger names, and you're going to cancel them out right away. I mean, that'll definitely garner some immediate interest in the tournament, obviously, because I feel like this fight has been like destined to happen forever. Like, because Mir's been wanting to fight Fedor for a really long time.
Like 10 years ago.
Yeah, dude, like forever. And like they never fought. And now it's just like, they're gonna knock each other. They're gonna, not that they're gonna like literally gonna knock each other out, but they're gonna take each other out in the first round, cancel each other out. So I wish the matchmaking had been a little bit different there. I thought give all those 205ers bad matchups in the first round, because I mean, let's figure out who can actually hang with the big boys and who can't.
You're right.
They
should have put all the 205ers against the heavyweights. One side versus the other side. I think that would have been a good idea.
Yeah, I did. I was trying to go over in my head. I kind of would have done maybe Chael versus Fedor off the bat. I just looking at like Chael versus Big Country is just kind of a weird, like in my head, I can't even wrap my head around that. Or Chael versus Mitrione.
Is that possible?
What's that?
Did they say anything about that?
I mean, they haven't said any of the matchups yet. They haven't. Honestly, there isn't a whole lot of information out there on it. Like, I don't even know. Is this going to be a one-night thing? Like, or is it going to be?
No.
That's going to be spread over.
The details I know are Frank Mir has said he's definitely fighting Fedor in the first round, and that this event is going to take place over basically the course of a whole year.
I like that. I like that better, honestly. If I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, it's like the old. It's like the Strikeforce one.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I would have thought that Rampage versus Fedor in the first round would have been a better sell.
For sure, yeah, because they're both old as shit and they're not going to make it far anyway. So you might as well
cancel one of them out, right?
Yeah.
And his big names, and Rampage, he could sell.
We got to talk about that Rampage shit, because that is weird as hell.
Getting signed?
No, because he was under contract to come back to the UFC.
Yeah.
And like they made it a point to enforce that, and obviously he was in limbo for a while, but he was supposed to have been with the UFC. and then something happened under the table, and now he's back with Bellator on a multi-fight deal.
I'm
MMA,
What the hell happened there?
Another
thinking
MMA.
that WME, they didn't want him. They let him go because they didn't feel that they should be paying him probably the amount that they're going to have to pay him. If
Well,
he
do we
comes
have any
back.
details on what he was supposed to get paid? Because that would maybe
No, I don't.
Nolan.
Don't look at me. I have no idea.
You don't know the insider? No, nothing.
No.
All right. Well, if we have an idea of how much,
Speculations is he's making $500,000 a fight.
yeah, like if he that would make sense if he was under contract, and I think it was just like 1 or 2 fights were left on his UFC contract. It was a really weird thing, but like I think there was just like 1 or 2, and obviously he was a big name when he signed the deal. So it could have been big money, and he's obviously not really worth that anymore. So, I mean, if it was big money, then that move does make sense, I guess.
Yeah, it looks like the contract that he was under, it was 250 and 250 with the UFC.
Shit.
So that, because he was, when this whole conundrum started, he had that one fight in Montreal at UFC 186 against Fabio Maldonado. And that's what started off this whole thing. So that was the same contract that he was under with them now, before he got cut again, or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, he made 250. Might be 250 straight, actually. Yeah, 250 straight, excuse me. No win bonus. So 250 flat.
See, that's a lot of money to pay for a guy who's gonna be like just rounding out your main card and not, obviously a name, but not. I mean, there's not really any big interest in. I don't know.
Yeah,
He
he's
clearly
coming off
did
a
not
loss
want to
too. There was just a lot of things.
Yeah, he clearly did not want to be back in the UFC.
No.
You know what's interesting about the list of fighters is Vanderlei's not on that list. I was kind of shocked that he didn't make it because he's a name. I think his name is just as big as Rampage's name, and them fighting each other in the tournament in the first round would have been a good sell. Even though there has been.
I think that's a rematch. That's a rematch, though.
Yeah, it's a rubber match, right?
Right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
That would have been madness. There's no way Vanderlei survives a tournament. Like, the dude would have died in the cage.
Well, he doesn't need to survive. They just need to sell a couple of fights with him. Be like,
He can't even make it to a press conference.
Yeah.
Like,
Here's a question for you guys. Would you guys have done the light heavyweight thing? Would you have brought in these 4 light heavyweights? Or, I think there's enough heavyweights on the Bellator roster, even though there's not a ton, but I was surprised, like, Czech Congo is a guy they could have thrown in. Bobby Lashley is a guy that they could have thrown in. Justin Wren is a guy that they could have thrown in. And I'm sure they could have one more. I was just a little surprised that those names were pushed to the curb. I think it would have been a good opportunity for those Bobby Lashley and Wren to come back out of the woodworks. And, Czech Congo is
Czech Congo's way too
terrible
boring.
as these fights can be to watch sometime from viewership perspective. I think that they could have done an all heavyweight tournament if they really wanted to.
I thought it was I thought they should have got at least one young guy. I mean, because tournaments are kind of about, letting, creating stars. And if you're just going to have has-beens and current stars, then what's the point,
Right.
I mean, besides ratings, because obviously this will get good ratings, better than like, AJ McKee and, some Irish guy.
Yeah.
On 12-hour tape delay. But like they should have thrown in at least one like Justin Wren or somebody.
Yeah. Even the dude that fought Roy Nelson, Javier Ayala was a guy.
Yeah, Javier Ayala. Somebody, because the 205, I do understand putting the 205 champ in there, Ryan Bader. That does make sense because honestly, he doesn't have anybody to fight right now. So put him in that tournament and eat up some time. Our champion's over, in the tournament. Like we can't do a 205 title fight right now. And that kind of like alleviates the fact that you don't have a 205 challenger at the moment. So that made sense to get the champion in there. But then to throw like King Mo and like, I understand King Mo's been fighting at heavyweight as well, but still like, I don't know. I'm with you. They should have thrown in one of those young guys to get a build up a name.
I thought they should have made it like a 16-man tournament instead of just having 8 guys that were
Like
just.
a 2-year tournament.
No, you could do a year. You could do a tournament in a year, in a 12-month span with 16
Bellator could.
fighters.
I mean,
It's just.
I love Bellator, but they're not that competent. Like a 16-man tournament in a year, I don't think they could pull it off.
Yo, if Road FC can do it, anybody can do it, man.
Yeah, but then by the end of the tournament, you would have like Bobby Lashley fighting fucking some nobody that they found from the Bellator Monster NASCAR series, you know? Like the dudes would all just because these are some old ass motherfuckers. Like they're
That's
gonna
true.
get burned out, man.
Who's your prediction to win it all?
Mitrione.
Mitrione times 2.
I put $100 on that right now.
You guys are picking Mitrione?
Fuck
Both
yeah.
of you?
Yep.
Wow.
We're on the same page today.
Wow. I'm gonna pick.
He's gonna pick somebody crazy, just like Fedor.
I'm gonna pick Ryan Bader.
Okay.
He's gonna
like it.
become
Yeah.
double weight
Yeah.
champ. I'm
It's
picking
an
Ryan
acceptable
Bader.
answer.
I think he's gonna be smart and play it smart and just win the fights and not get too crazy. And he'll probably end up knocking some dudes out too at the same time, but I feel that Ryan Bader has the best chance. But it all depends on how the matchups go up. But I'm rooting for Chael Sonnen. I ain't gonna lie. I'll be rooting for Chael Sonnen to win. I don't know why, but he's just fun. He's just fun to see on TV acting a fool. It's just fun to watch, and I like that.
He's a cool cat. Like he's really awesome with the media, and you can just tell he's like, away from the cameras, that he's like a really cool dude. Even though his persona is just kind of about him being a pompous asshole.
But you hear all good stories about him though from other
Yeah.
fighters and how he treats people and how he helps people out and he's a smart dude too. Because I watched all those videos that he puts out about like wrestling and stuff like that when he tells those stories, and man, he knows a lot of shit. Like it's not like he's just a fighter. He can break things down. Even though I don't listen to his podcast or nothing like that, but I know that yeah. He seems like a genuine dude if you actually are around him. And if you look at the people that are around him, like Dan Henderson, those types of guys, I don't think if he acted like that, I don't think those guys would keep him around.
They could have the battle of the commentators in Chael Sonnen and Frank Mir, ACB versus Bellator commentators.
Jesus. Who wins that one? I think I'll take Frank Mir on that.
I'll take Frank Mir for sure.
Yeah. But man, it seems like Rampage, he doesn't even want to fight anymore. I don't understand why he signed a multi-fight deal with Bellator. Some of these guys, oh man, it's just gonna be some. I just look at it as some of it is just gonna be some sadness, in your heart, to see some of these guys just get pummeled. And I think number one is gonna be Fedor. He's just gonna get smashed by somebody.
Probably.
And it's just gonna be sad.
I thought that, to be fair to Fedor, I mean, me and Nolan are picking Mitrione for a reason, and that's because, he's a killer. So that was a tough matchup for him, coming over to Bellator and then getting matched up with Mitrione. And to be fair, he did drop Mitrione. It's just at the same time he got dropped harder and wasn't able to recover. So
For sure.
Go ahead.
The athleticism too, Fedor obviously is a little older and not what he once was, and just that became apparent that night. He still got the power, he still got some of the skills, and just that the athleticism was a big difference. And I think that's what Mitrione brings to the table.
didn't Mitrione play football for somebody?
I believe so. Yeah, he played for the
Yeah.
Vikings or somebody, right?
No, it was the fucking Giants. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, he played for.
Hey, what's up with the
I was
Giants,
gonna
man?
make it. I was gonna. You ruined my whole joke, Nolan.
Okay,
God damn it.
my bad. No, he did play for them. He played for the Giants, the
Oh.
49ers, and the Vikings.
I thought I just played for the Giants.
So,
Wow. I was gonna say,
fun fact.
Nobody cares if he played for anybody, really, right? It's like Brock Lesnar played for the Vikings too. Nobody
Hey, Brendan
cares.
Schaub, NFL star, right?
Yeah, exactly. Brendan Schaub, NFL star. Oven St. Prude was like an elite
What?
player for Tennessee. You know,
Wait, really?
that's what I'm saying. That's what they say, but
OSP?
For Tennessee, like not
College.
the
I don't believe
NFL,
that.
not the Titans.
no, the college.
I don't think OSP was a college football star.
Yeah,
No, he wasn't. He just that's what they say. That's what they say.
I don't buy. Yeah, I'm not buying that. I mean, I know. I mean, Brock Lesnar is a freak human being. Did you guys see where they had props to who was it? Bloody Elbow. They had the tattoo artists like critique UFC fighter tattoos.
that was actually Rolling Stone or no, it was somebody. It was a magazine of some sort.
Well, Bloody Elbow must have stolen it or something.
Yeah, was it Dana? Was it the thing with Dana or no?
No.
Oh, okay,
This was tattoo artists
okay, never mind.
critiquing like a few fighters' tattoos, and like the Mark Hunt's was like hailed as the best, that chest piece he has.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And then they were shitting on like obviously Darren Elkins, has
yeah.
the damage.
Aaron
And then
Allen
like
Belton, I'm sure.
yeah, and then Brock Lesnar, it's like he has that thing, and it's like they didn't want to say anything bad about him, but at the same time, it's not the most well done tattoo. Like it just looks, especially when they did a close up shot of it, you can just see like how like deteriorated it is and just kind of
Well, I think
crappy.
it's the placement of it was what was so bad.
No, obviously the placement is bad, but then the actual tattoo itself looks crappy. Like I don't know if he like how much money he paid for it, but I don't know.
From what they say, he's like really obsessed with medieval knights and armor and stuff like that for some reason.
You should go do that M1 the night thing. What are they?
No, he's too
That'd be
busy.
terrifying.
He's
He would murder somebody. He
yeah,
would
he
like
would.
literally behead somebody with a
With
shield.
the helmet.
Shit. But yeah, man, like Bellator, that heavyweight tournament. When are they starting it? Is there any information about that?
Early 2018. I mean, they have the Rory
Oh
Lima
yeah.
fight. The title fight is January 20th, which obviously will be going to in LA, and then they're staying in LA. 6 days later, they have that Riverside card. Riverside, right?
Temecula, yeah.
Temecula.
I don't know if that's the same thing.
Kind of.
I don't have all my California geography down, but
Of course. Well, anyways, in the greatest state, within 6 days they have two events, and then I would assume it'd be sometime after that. I don't get the 6 days. This 2 days and 6 days is that's crazy. I don't know what's going on there.
yeah, it's interesting. I know Chael had said apparently on his podcast that he was looking to return in January, so maybe they'll throw a couple of fights on one of those cards, kick it off. But also Chael says a lot of things that
True.
don't turn out to be true. So
I guess I'll just be staying in LA for a week. Like I don't know what else
why
to do.
not?